Attention, attention. This is the Creature Features control voice. This is Ron Boltz. And for some time now, I've spoken to you from the invisible void of audio ether, often climaxing John Stanley's sketches and playlets with some of the worst pun lines ever misconceived. But even the puns seem endurable compared to what I must tell you now. I am speaking to you for the last time here on Creature Features to tell you that after tonight, there will be no more Creature Features. I bid you farewell, and may the Force be with you.
Bob Wilkins.
John, how are you?
Geez, good to see you.
Nice.
I think it's been a couple of years since E.T. opened.
That's right.
Where you been keeping yourself?
Fan letters, but nothing more. I just passing through, and I read in the Chronicle the other day that this is it.
You probably read it in the pink section, right?
Pink section, yeah.
Well, it's been 14 years almost of tradition. You did it for 8. I did it for almost,
6,
5.5?
6 and 8, right.
Almost 6.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was just thinking a little while ago about that first time I was on your show in 1971.
Goes way back. You were one of the first guests.
Yeah, the show was just getting underway. People didn't know who you were then.
Right.
They don't know who you are now.
Guy on the bus tonight asked me, But listen, I dropped by, not to talk about old times, but how are you feeling tonight? I mean, this is it.
Well, I got 5 years of great memories, Bob. There was a lot of fun in this dungeon. Mm-hmm. I'm feeling kind of sad, though.
Well, I don't blame you. Can I help bring you out of it maybe a little bit?
Well, smile at me or bring on the dancing girls.
Right. Huh? We'll get some.
Huh?
Look at this here.
Hey, I see a lot of familiar faces here.
That's right. These are people that you owe money to, John.
This calls for a celebration, Bob.
Great. 14 years.
Here's a toast to 14 years of Creature Features. Great memories.
Come to me.
The first guest when I took over the show in 1979 was Chuck Norris. He came from L.A. just to do a karate film with me, and I'll always be indebted to Chuck. Christopher Lee almost didn't do this show until he learned who my other guest was going to be that night. Ray Bradbury, the world's finest fantasy writer. If it was good enough for Ray, it was going to be good enough for Christopher Lee. Ray Bradbury appeared 5 times on this show. On 2 very special occasions, my guest was Mr. Spock himself, Leonard Nimoy, always gracious, always articulate. Then there was that hairy night that I did a show with a gorilla. And then there was the show with the incredible Killer Mummy. There was Private Eye Night with Gloria Masters as the Dame in Distress. Remember Cloris Leachman went bananas promoting Herbie Goes Bananas? And we all had silver spoons in our mouths the night that Ricky Schroeder appeared, precocious as hell. And then there was British actor David Prowse breathing heavy as he described his method acting for Darth Vader. Harvey Bernhard, producer of the Omen films. And old Buddy Epson, who was going to arrest me for impersonating the TV host. I really loved the night that the werewolf howling killer thing strangled that tax lady from the IRS. Imagine going over my books. And how about the night I had all those intellectuals on the program? Remember Maybe Van Doren describing how a sex kitten returns to college? Teru Tanaka, the professor. We almost didn't see eye to eye about the price of karate chops. And there was Polly Holiday talking about gremlins. Psycho author Robert Bloch, who showed us he had the heart of a small child. He brought it in a small jar. There was the night that I shot it out with the Maltese Falcon Gang, led by Ray Nelson. They won. And what a great evening we had with special effects master Ray Harryhausen. And there was sexy, inquisitive Angelique Pettyjohn from Star Trek. On the set with Bob Anthony, one of my devoted fans. There was the time I went to Nashville to work in Hee-Haw with stimulating conversationalist Lisa Todd. How about my mini-movie, Attack of the Incredible Killer Scarecrow, with Don Herron as the shamus who was investigating my murder? And remember Ken Ralston, Academy Award-winning special effects artist who's done outstanding work on the Star Trek films for Industrial Light and Magic. And how about Terry Carr, who's anthologized more science fiction fantasy collections than any other living editor? And many ho-ho-ho visits from baggy old Santa Claus, always played by my jovial friend David Moore. And how about Carl Malden? Wasn't that a fine evening? And the late Buster Crabbe, full of exciting stories about the early days of Flash Gordon, God rest his soul. And that hilarious mini-movie, The Mafu Cage, in which Carol Kane and Lee Grant locked me up in the San Francisco Zoo. Remember that great Burt Lancaster impression that Frank Gorshin did for us? He sounded just like Kirk Douglas. And Charlotte Lance Heil, my favorite San Francisco dancing showgirl, and my Mata Hari. In 1981, the first edition of the Creature Features Movie Guide, illustrated by my collaborator Ken Davis, now sold out, a coveted collector's item. And Warner Books just this summer issued the second edition, expanded and updated with 1,000 new entries. Now, am I the first TV evangelist to write his own Bible? Stephen Collins of Star Trek The Motion Picture, a nice actor, but his role was never really accepted by the fans. And best-selling author William Goldman, just one of scores of popular writers that we've talked to. And Nicholas Meyer, before he became the director of Star Trek, The Wrath of Khan. Well, those are just a few of the people and things that I've worked with since 1979. I wish I had time to present all of them to you, but it's just impossible. Later tonight, though, I will share more memories with you, and you're going to meet Bob Wilkins, the man who originated this show, for better or worse, almost 14 years ago. Our movie tonight is Lemora, Lady Vampire. I really wanted to get a classic for you tonight, but they canceled the show and there wasn't time to change the schedule, so we're not going to go out in a blaze of glory. However, trying to look on the bright side of things, this minor low-budget film of 1973 has some very odd, surreal elements as a young woman undergoes a bizarre odyssey through a nightmarish landscape populated by grotesque people and monsters. You've seen it before. It's okay, it's nothing great, but stay tuned because I want you to see the rest of what we have to present to you tonight. And oh yeah, one other thing about the film, the actor who's driving the bus in the beginning, his name is Hy Pike, and he once appeared in a feature film that I co-produced and directed called Nightmare in Blood. Don't miss it if you can. Now, TV shows are often judged by dollars and cents and rating points. However, I've always judged this program by the reception from you viewers when we met at the special Creature Features screenings in major San Francisco theaters, at the science fiction conventions and other special events. We were one-on-one, and I heard your likes and dislikes, and you showed me your appreciation by shaking my hand or asking for autographs. Those were always the greatest moments of this job because I got to know what my audience was all about. I saw in your eyes the appreciation and affection this show has generated for many, many families and people over the last 13 years. And now you're telling me that you're shocked and dismayed that Creature Features is leaving the air. Well, so am I. Creatures was the focal point of my life for 5 years, and believe me, it's not easy giving it up. But while the show is ending, its ideals are certain to live on in the hearts of all of you out there who grew up with Bob Wilkins and who've come afterward. And so I thank each of you for watching all these years and for your loyal support and dedication. Before we go to the movie, I'd like to single out 2 fans who aren't watching tonight. One is Jack Brooks. He's a close personal friend in the Bay Area Media Corps. Jack never failed on Saturday night to unwind by watching this show into the wee hours of the morning. He was a great supporter. Jack isn't watching because he died of a heart attack in May. Now, the other fan is someone who watched me faithfully for the first 2 years that I was on. He never missed a single moment that I did. He had to endure these awful movies, but he did it. And I guess he did it because he liked me. Anyway, this man had a stroke, and a year later he died. He was my father, Myron Stanley, and in my heart, he'll always be my greatest Creature Features fan. This is not Bob Wilkins appearing as a guest on John Stanley's Creature Feature show. This is John Stanley appearing as a guest on Bob Wilkins' Creature Feature show back in 1974 when Stanley, who was very hard up at the time, was looking for a plug for his new book, A Monster Movie Game. Here is Bob Wilkins appearing as a guest on John Stanley's show in the year 1984. And now, for the last time, here they are together, those 2 modest, brilliant, angelic Creature Feature hosts, Bob Wilkins and John Stanley. Bob, I don't know if I should interview you or if you should interview me. Why don't we just forget about all that stuff and have a good time?
Great. You interview. I've never been interviewed on this show, so it's all yours.
Well, you were here one time. I think you came as Captain Cosmic. You were never here as yourself.
That's right.
Hey, listen, there's some things I want to talk to you about.
Sure.
First of all, would you please tell 500,000 fans out there what's happened to you? Every time I step out the front door, there's somebody waiting to know whatever happened to Bob Wilkins.
Well, before I got into television, I worked in advertising, and about, I guess 5.5 years ago, I thought it was time to get back in advertising, and I have my own agency.
You've got 2 agencies, in Orinda and Sacramento.
Right.
So how are you doing?
Out of television for the most part.
Well, how are you doing?
I'm doing fine, doing fine.
Very good.
My headaches have gone away. And
is it true that you sort of had a breakdown from too many horror movies at one point in your life?
I think I finally, got up to about here with horror movies. When I gave it up, I was doing a Friday and Saturday night show, and then also a show in Sacramento. And
you were really on a treadmill, weren't you?
Just so many times you can run Attack of the Mushroom People,
Oh, hey, listen, Bob, I want to talk about popularity for a moment, because I have some thoughts and theories about that. You know, I used to watch you make your appearances before I came on this show back in the early 70s, and you were on in prime time at 9 o'clock, and there was an alternative to standard network television, and your ratings were very high and you were very popular. And there were generations that grew up with you because you were on early in the evening. And it was always my opinion that of the 2 of us, you probably enjoyed a greater popularity than I did. Not just because you were on longer, you were on 3 years longer than I was, but there was that early audience that watched you in prime time. And people remember that. People still talk about that today. What they tell me is, gee, I fall asleep at 11 o'clock. I can't stay up till you come on.
Yeah.
In fact, there's a lot of people who, if you say, I'm on Creature Features, they haven't watched for so long, they think I'm you. They don't know the difference.
That's right. Are you trying to tell me that you've put more people to sleep than me, John?
I'm absolutely positive of that.
Yeah.
No, I wanted to get your reflections on how you felt about your popularity during the 8 years that you did the show.
Well, it's pretty, it's fairly easy to measure it because of the rating system, but I think even when the ratings were down a little bit, the fans that show up at the various functions and the fan mail and all the contests and things like that. And, there was always a legion of fans out there, and even after I left, the show, I mean, you continued on for 5.5 years, and for a show to be on 14 years or whatever.
I've never ridden anybody's shirt tail as long as yours, Bob.
No, I mean, in television, usually the average length of the lifespan of a television show is 13 weeks, you know.
Yeah.
And here we're talking 14 years. So I think that the record stands for itself.
What do you think attributed to that 14 years? What kept the show on the air? Was it that legions of fans? They didn't always show up in the ratings, though.
Well, it certainly wasn't the movies,
let's
put it that way.
My ratings might have been different from yours. Mine fluctuated a lot. They were good when you first left, and then I think I maintained a pretty good rating, but the ratings have slid in recent times.
Well, I think that it started out, and you continued on the policy of reaching the science fiction fans and the Star Trek fans, and that really was their only outlet for information, and you know, you bring on guests from the movies and directors and things like that. There are interview shows on television, but they don't deal exclusively with horror and science fiction.
And with the death of this show, Bob, there's nothing to replace it. There's no rival show that will pick up where we left off.
Yeah.
There will be no outlet for all of this information and material and entertainment.
Saturday night will be the loneliest night of the week, John.
You're not going to be lonely right now, Bob, because we have someone named Larry Weinberg who drove all the way down from Grants Pass, Oregon, in an old Greyhound bus.
Oh, my God.
And he has something he'd like to give you. Larry?
Sure.
Would you step over here, please?
Wow. That looks familiar.
Larry?
Hi. This is for you, from all your friends and fans throughout the years. The skull from the time that you were hosting to us was the essence of Creature Features, and we feel it only fitting that the last candle that you burned on your last show should be burned till the show is over.
Wow.
This is also for you.
Thank you, Larry.
This is an actual skull, by the way. I really appreciate it.
Your producer.
Yeah. I think it's Alan Bell.
And this is the tie that you wore on some of your segments.
That's right.
This is a Maltese Falcon tie.
Yeah.
What's the story behind that, Bob?
I can't recall. This was a gift from the restaurant where in San Francisco.
Oh, yeah. What restaurant? Jack's?
It caught fire and then it...
John's Grill.
Yeah,
John's Grill.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which is reopened.
Where Dashiell Hammett used to hang out a lot. Yeah.
That's
Well, Larry,
fantastic,
thank you.
Larry, thank you very much.
We're really sad to see you go.
I'm sorry my budget can't pay for your bus ride, but tough luck. That's the way it is.
It's on me.
Thanks, Larry.
Grants Pass was a place where when you start the show and Channel 2's on a lot of cable systems, you'd get mail, and you can verify this.
Oh, yeah,
Grants Pass, Oregon.
I get a lot of mail from Medford, Grants Pass. Yeah.
And just places where, gosh, he drove all the way, huh?
All the way. Hey, Bob, about the wreath. You were going to ask me about the wreath.
Yeah,
Remember, you forgot your cue.
That's right. No, I didn't forget.
This is from the stunt guys at Marine World Africa USA.
Great bunch of guys.
Wayne Bauer, Ray Woodfork, and a whole slew of guys who go out there every day and really bust themselves, sometimes literally, to entertain you.
Right.
Well, Bob, I want you to stick around. I've got some more. We're going to have a little cocktail party back here with all of our friends, all those people you brought.
The show has changed, John.
So, yeah, we drink the real stuff on this show.
Okay, great.
Okay, shall we go back to the Lemora Lady Vampire, or whatever it is?
If we have to.
If we have to, for one last time, why don't you say goodbye to that audience out there?
Bye-bye. Bye, kids.
5 of you perched expectantly on the edges of your seats, subjecting yourselves to forms of entertainment and torture that some would dismiss as utter trash. What is there, my friends, about monster menageries, space spectacles, werewolf wailings, vampire vignettes, nocturnal narratives, E.T. entities, and ghostly guests that touch your appeal button? Are you adults seeking an escape into your pasts? Are you children seeking an escape into your futures? Why do you want your worst fears and trepidations challenged by the images which I regurgitate every Saturday night through the Telstar ether? Are you perhaps seeking a stimulation to your wondrous zones? Are you bored with your 9-to-5 lifestyle and want to see situations and things beyond your own reality? Perhaps you have a perverse soul. Think about that. You enjoy seeing others suffer or being frightened to death. Or is it that you simply want a bill of fare that you can't find on the menus of other channels? Does the sight of blood thrill you? Does the bloodied edge of a butcher knife send a tingle along your spine? Perhaps as we go not so gently into that evil night, it is all of those things. Each is reaching out to a segment of you, clutching you, clinging to you, refusing to release you back into the world of ugly norm, until Channel 2 turns to forceless fields of pre-dawn snow. To be part of Creature Features is to be part of something very special. You are all a very caring band that marches to the offbeat of another drummer. Appreciate your uniqueness. Cherish it in these moments when Creature Features is about to die. Cherish the mystery, the mayhem, the magic, and the melancholia that is our world, yours and mine, the world of Creature Features.